CarterBrothers is a business enterprise and national management services and solutions company specializing in consulting. And with me is John Carter, who is the chairman and CEO of CarterBrothers. So welcome, John. Great
Absolutely.
to have
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
So
Absolutely.
Give me an overview of what CarterBrothers does.
Well, CarterBrothers is a management solutions company. So we provide management services and advisement, whether it's strategic growth, whether it's, in today's world, it's just ever changing, right? I mean, so, figuring out, what companies are doing now and what we're now really focused on, not only from management services from, IFM, but we're also looking at, sustainability and ESG and how do we help our partners, kind of make that next move. And, one of the things that, we've been working a lot on is the value of carbon credits in the marketplace. I think it was early as yesterday, NASDAQ just released a press release of a partnership with a carbon credit kind of conference, type company. Those kind of alignments, really make a lot of sense with what we're trying to do in today's market. And then if we take, CarterBrothers from a DE&I perspective, of working with corporations, not only on ESG, but on sustainability and DE&I. Yeah. And I think there's large growth platforms, through that.
Now, you also have some patents, right? Are those related to the carbon credits?
Absolutely.
Okay, so explain what those are.
So we have the only U.S. patent on carbon credit, tokenizing the carbon credit process. And so we started the patent process probably about 5 years ago. Me, Blair, and Nate got together, started working together, started looking at, hey, here's what we think opportunities are. We took a patented process, put it together, and have it in the marketplace today. So, and what we're now looking to go out and do is we're going to go build a global exchange for carbon credits. We're going to look at companies that are looking at sustainability and DE&I, partnering those two things together and building out a membership exchange, that we can show trust, transparency through a transaction of carbon credits. And we feel really comfortable, where the market is, the value of our patents, the value of the token, and how to work. It's a little bit different than kind of the I don't want to say blockchain, but it's a utility token. Okay. So with this utility token, now we can go from cradle to grave in carbon credits. So we can show from where you get the token and the carbon credit from to when it's retired and gone. And in the past, there's been companies that have really struggled, with truth around carbon credits. Yeah,
sure.
So they were overselling carbon credits and in the marketplace. Our process eliminates that.
So it authenticates.
It authenticates. Fantastic.
The source, right,
yes, ma'am.
Of the whole thing. So somebody can say, look, here's proof that we actually do what we say we're going to do, and you're using the blockchain to be
absolutely. Yes, okay. Absolutely.
Now, another big trend we've seen lately, and you mentioned DEI. Mm-hmm. So how do you, as a management consultant, kind of navigate that? It's, and what is the benefit of a company having a diverse workforce?
Well, I mean, what I would tell you two things is I think, diversity, equity, inclusion is a sustainable platform. All right. So, so from the start, when you're working with DE&I companies and diverse companies, they're more nimble. So what I would tell you more than anything else, I like to build the speedboat next to an aircraft carrier. So when you're with big corporations, it's very hard when they want to make a decision. Mm-hmm. So they want to make a decision about DE&I, they want to make a decision about sustainability, ESG. It's going to take them a long time to kind of make that turn. Yeah. With us sitting next to them, we can act more of a speedboat, put pilot programs out there. Here's how they work. Here's what works well. Here's what doesn't work well. And then communicate that back to a corporation and say, here's an easier path forward to where we can go.
That's really interesting, kind of like take off little bites instead of doing a big thing all at once.
Well, I think a lot of people in the marketplace, whether it was after George Floyd or all the things that happened in the world, they basically came out and said, okay, we want to do these really big things. Well, it's hard to change a $50 billion, $60 billion, $30 billion corporation overnight. So you kind of have to work with them to build a path forward, and that path forward, once they see it and understand it, it's very easy for them to adapt to. To me, that is sustainability. So that's why when you hear me talk a lot, I talk about how those things work together.
Yeah. Well, the world's becoming more global, so we all
every day we have to adjust.
Technology's bringing everything together and all that. Now, you bought a company from GE.
I had bought a company from GE.
Tell me that story.
So had some really good relationships inside of General Electric, and basically worked within a business that they had. It was a fire alarm business, and GE is a great manufacturer. They really didn't want to be a service company. They didn't want kind of butts in trucks. And what I looked at with inside of that business is, hey, I love fragmented businesses that are, that are I don't want to say confusing, but there's a lot of small companies in it. So I bought this business. We were doing, I think we had 12 offices when I bought it. Then we ended up with 19 offices over a period. So we grew that business over a 7-year span. And then there's another big company that came in and called and says, we want that business.
So they bought it.
And then they acquired that business from me. Nice. So, I've looked at it, I've had multiple conversations about going back into that space, because I think the fire space is, really, really an interesting space. When you look around the room, anything red, has to do with, your fire alarm system, your sprinkler system, so on and so forth. So again, that was a business that I didn't see a lot of minorities, black and brown companies in. I had access to, a major corporation that had a product that I liked. So I acquired that product, built it out, and then, someone basically made me an offer that I couldn't refuse.
That's the way it works, right?
That's the way it works. That's the way it works. So
finally, John, just tell me, where do you see businesses headed? We talked about globalization, blockchain, technology is a big part. What are kind of your big macro thoughts on where business is going?
Well, I mean, I think businesses are changing every day. And I think that the biggest piece of that is you keep hearing me talk about sustainability, but that's the problem with some of these. They're like, okay, this is our core business. This is what we do really well. How do we get away from some of this other stuff that we don't do really well? How do we outsource it? How do we partner with DE&I? How do we partner with other partnerships? So let's do what we do really well. So look, I'm a great car builder. I don't really need to be a great tire company, so that's a partnership. Or different parts that are inside of a car. Here's how that works. What I see with corporate America today is they are becoming more flexible. Now, I think COVID played a heck of a role inside of that, because it allowed corporations to kind of draw themselves back in and say, okay, let's get rid of the fat, the adjustment that a lot of major corporations are making around real estate, because people just aren't in buildings today, and we figured out that people can work from home and be successful. So as we continue to kind of, drive, that as within our partnerships and helping them say, okay, again, speedboat next to an aircraft carrier. How do we, if you look at how many corporations are breaking up today, they're going from
one of them,
GE's one of them. They're going from huge corporations to much more nimble, private equity's doing it. A number of different companies are doing it, because what they're doing is they're focusing on, here's what our core is, here's what we're really great at doing, and here's the reasons why. When I look at, what companies want to do with ESG, and I think to myself, okay, how do they actually get there? How do you change the mentality of a 50-something-year-old individual, male or female? They've been doing something the same way for over 50 years. Very hard to get us to change to do certain things. But if you show them a pathway and why and the value of it, I think you can close a circle within those corporations that they'll see that value. And that helps drive, their end goals of being more profitable, more sustainable, and including, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah. Thank you so much, John. So
Absolutely.
Interesting. about this.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time to have me on.